welcome to another episode of the Organic Adventure Show. I am your host, Cy Rodriguez, and today we're going to be talking about what kinds of foods are best to eat for you and the environment. The thing that we are going to start off with, though, is something I left off with on the raw food or cooked food subject, and that is what food should you eat? And another thing was what can you do to make the herbs or spices the very best when you put them into your meals? So really quick, with the herbs and spices, something I found works great, and this works great for making tea as well. What you want to do is take your herbs and spices that you want to put into your meal that you're going to have. And this could be, for example, some quinoa with some veggies in it, for example, and maybe you want to put some seasoning, Italian seasoning in it. So you get your organic Italian seasoning, or you mix some thyme, basil, oregano, and rosemary into a little cup and put a little bit of cold water, first of all, some cold filtered water, just enough to cover the herbs in the bottom of a cup. And this is going to allow the herbs to soak in the water before you put any hot water on top. I learned this trick from a website that talks about the best way to make yerba mate and preserve as much of the nutrient content as possible in those herbs. One way or another, it works really good. So after doing this, you're going to heat your water, and then you're going to fill the water up to the top with the hot water up to the top once it's heated and it's been soaking in just a little tiny bit of water on the bottom, and then just cover it and let it steep like tea for the whole time that it takes you to prepare your meal. And once your meal is prepared, you just take that water and the herbs that are in it and put them directly into your food, mix it in, and I have found that this really gets the flavor out of the herbs, and I think this is an excellent tip. So next time you're experimenting with making your food, don't add any oil or any herbs or seasoning until after you've cooked it. That way you're going to have the oil in its best state, and you should have olive oil, coconut oil, or flax oil being the very best one, and for certain reasons anyway. And then you are going to preserve more of the nutrients in your herbs, and it's going to taste better too. So just a little tip I learned making my own things at home. One of the valuable ways to get great insight into what you can do with your time, I guess. So, further, moving on, what should we eat? There's the question of, should we eat meat or not? Should we eat dairy or not? So, for anybody who doesn't know, I consider myself a strict vegetarian. The reason I say this is because sometimes I have honey, which is not considered vegan, and sometimes, very, very rarely, I will drink some organic milk. For anybody who is wondering about that subject or might catch me at the store one day purchasing some organic milk, there you have it. I have told the truth ahead of time, so you will be prepared. For the most part, however, I don't drink any milk, and I haven't had any milk in a long time, and I believe very strongly, at this point especially, that you can live very, very healthfully on a strict vegetarian or mostly plant-based diet. And that's what I do. I work out, I'm an active person, and I have muscle. Some. Anyways, question about meat. There's a lot of people bring up the thoughts, oh well, you should eat local, and if you live in the mountains, then you are not eating local if you're eating bananas and mangoes and fruits of all kinds in the wintertime. So let me clear this one up for you. It's actually better for the environment to just cut out all the meat and eat fruits from wherever you want to eat in the world. And the reason that I say this is because there have been a lot of tests and a lot of research done, and the verdict is out. So let me just read to you really quickly from a website that I'm looking at right now called the vegansoapbox.com. And here are just some of the titles of some resources regarding the locavore versus vegan debate. And the locavore myth is there is one thing you can do to shrink the carbon footprint of your dinner. Take the meat off your plate. No matter how you slice it, it takes more energy to bring meat as opposed to plants to the table. Some other subjects or other topics, actual titles of articles written: Green Your Meat. A study by Carnegie Mellon University, scientists had concluded that eating less meat will reduce carbon emissions even more than purchasing food locally. It's the meat, not the miles. Food miles don't feed climate change. Meat does. An analysis of environmental toll of food production concludes that transportation is a mere drop in the carbon food bucket. Foods such as beef and dairy make a far deeper impression on a consumer's carbon footprint. So these are just a few. Bottom line is, no matter how you look at it, you're going to find that if it comes down to local or vegan and you're doing it for the environment, then you definitely want to go with vegan. And of course, I'm not going to preach to anybody about that. And that is up to anybody what they want to do. I just am here to show and offer information to people about how they can get more of a plant-based diet or all the way plant-based diet and still be a completely healthy person and really have an optimally healthful life, I guess is the best way to put it. So that's the lowdown on local versus vegan, or should you eat meat or not. That's up to you. I'll let you decide the rest on that particular idea. Here are some foods that I think are good for everybody to eat: amaranth, millet, and quinoa, all of which are grains that are alkalizing grains and have no gluten in them. Rice is another one without gluten. However, amaranth, millet, and quinoa are alkalizing grains, which rice is not necessarily. Although rice is a good complex carbohydrate, I highly believe that it's a good thing to be eating. And all sorts of greens, and even if you want to cook your greens, sometimes it's okay, just save the water that they're in so you get all the minerals out of them. Smoothies, green smoothies, every kind of fruit that you can imagine. Even if you don't like it, you should try it and realize that what you eat is what you crave. So over time, you're going to crave more of those things as long as you give yourself a chance to eat those things that are good for you. Nuts, seeds, beans, or legumes, however you call them. Fatty foods like avocados as well. Fats in moderation though. And every kind of vegetable, cooked or not cooked. Superfoods, chia seeds for example, goji berries, maca, chlorella, so going into that, algae, seaweeds. These are just some of the things that I think can enhance your life and get more of the vitamins and minerals that you need. And that being said, we're going to go ahead and conclude this episode of the Organic Adventure Show. I hope that you enjoyed it. And until next time, may every day be an adventure in health. Oh, I almost forgot to say that, of course, whatever you can buy local, that's going to be the best.